Maybe a dynamite. The man, Cliff Richard.
Explosive situation, I've got no explanation. Love has shot out of the blue. Heaven, me and you. It isn't just attraction, it's more a chain reaction. Our love is no ricochet. One go afraid. I can't let the fuse and then we tire. Love got me in its like a fire. Ooh, baby, you're dynamite. There's never been another love so exciting. Ooh, baby, it's dynamite. You got the power of thunder and lightning. Oh, you're dynamite. Your lips are so inviting, my senses are igniting. I know our love's here to stay. Won't go away. It's bigger by the hour. Love's overwhelming power is moving irresistibly through you and me. I can't light the fuse and then we tire. Love got me in its like a fire. Ooh, baby, you're dynamite. There's never been another love so exciting. Ooh, baby, it's dynamite. You got the power of thunder and lightning. Oh, you're
Seemed to go quite nicely, that.
Quite well, yeah. The gang's in.
You have a hardcore, a clack that follows you around. Not all your relations.
No, well, I have a lot of relations, but not that many. But I do have a loyal bunch of fans. They get everywhere. Thank you.
Certainly do, Ollie. We've always said about you, of course, it's the old painting in the attic. It's the picture of Dorian Gray, isn't it?
No, it's all down to Nautilus training.
Nautilus training, eh?
Yes, if you want a naughty body.
Is that the stuff you do underwater?
I thought it was originally, but apparently it's just machinery that you use to lift weights and things. But listen, it sounds like I've been doing it for years, but I haven't. Just recently started doing it.
It's that Sue Barker has led you into that, hasn't it?
Well, she's a... Yeah.
I know why, because she told me earlier on that she used to beat you at arm wrestling.
She could beat most people at arm wrestling. I mean, the funny thing is, you know, I've only been playing tennis since I met Sue a couple of years, and already the right side of my body is quite developed. Doing these weight things on this Nautilus stuff, I found 5 I could do like that, 6 was like that. And about 7, I couldn't get the left arm up again. It was quite amazing. So people like Sue who play tennis all the time. Their right hand, you've got to be really careful.
You're like those crabs you see in the South Seas with one huge claw.
I don't think Sue's going to like that at all.
But look at you. Look at you. At what point? Do you remember? Well, I hardly do at all, but you may possibly. See, remember the old pictures. You had more puppy fat then, hadn't you? When did you decide to shed it all, and how did you keep it off?
I went to America. I mean, when I see early photographs of myself, like when I was 16 and just starting, I didn't have fat really. But, you know, when you start earning a lot of money and things, you start eating a heck of a lot better. And I went to America in 1960. And there we were traveling day and night, and we were stopping off and eating sort of cornflakes and half, you know, that creamy milk stuff, and cheesecakes. And I came back, and honestly, I put on, must have been a stone or so, in a period of 6 weeks. That didn't bother me so much, but then when I started seeing photographs of myself, and watching one of those early performances of Coronation Street, and I got a mention in one of the shows, and this lady says, "Oh, I do love that chubby Cliff Richard." And I thought, I mean, that was not the image I was trying to present.
How can you...
I'm sorry, curling the lip and knocking the first row over. Really bloated.
You were the scowling menace then, weren't you?
No, they just say I smouldered a bit.
Yeah.
No,
Can you still smoulder if you want to?
I don't know. Yeah, I can, can't I? Well, actually, the smouldering only can really come through from here. Like if you're singing a song, you know, and it's smouldering. The thing is that you've got to keep... It's the eye contact that does it. And one of the reasons why I got that image was because Jack Good, who produced the first TV show I ever did, he said to me, "You do look a bit like Elvis, you know." He said, "Chop off the sideburns, get rid of the guitar." And I thought, well, I don't know what to do with my hands after that. You know, it was really... He said, "Don't worry, we'll film you." And this was not because I was a crude exhibitionist, but only because he said, "I'll film you from the shoulders upwards." And he made me look constantly at the camera. And he's one of the first people, I met film directors after that, who said, eyeball to eyeball contact is so great, and the camera has to be your public. So you just constantly look at the camera. So you can smile at it, but you can also go. And as long as you don't take your eyes off it, you can do what you like, really. I mean,
well, smouldering is out of it now. You don't see... Boy George doesn't smoulder much.
Where's my stresses and things? Actually, this was a dress. I've just had it cut down. But he doesn't have to, you see. I don't think, again... But there again, I think he's going to turn out to be cleverer than a lot of people. I mean, anyone that can dream up that sort of image and make it work. You know, if someone had said 10 years ago that somebody would be singing a guy, and his name would be Boy George, and he would be in drag virtually, which is what it is, they'd have been out of the question. But he was clever enough, I don't know whether he planned it or not, I don't know. It's the right time, and people have accepted it. And the thing is, he comes over as a nice guy, and I'll tell you what, really the secret, he can actually sing. It sounds good. So I can... But it doesn't... But listen, he can't cut out those of us that used to smoulder, because... I've always said this, you know, there's plenty of room for a lot of people in our industry. Unfortunately, as time has gone by, I'm now in my 40s, and rock and roll is still the only music I really, really get off on. There's no period of time when you suddenly say, it's time for me to like classics, or time for me to like opera. It doesn't work that way. So what you've got now is the first generation of 40-year-olds who come alongside Nick Kershaw, Howard Jones, and we all share the same charts, and we do the same kind of music. I think a lot of young people now are having a problem. I think they'd like to have a generation gap, but they haven't got one. Because I'm somebody's uncle, and I love the same music they like. My little nephews and nieces love all these records, and I go, yeah, great. But when I was a kid, and I said, Elvis, oh, anathema, my aunt and uncle, all that rubbish.
He said once that you lived through 5 loads of 10-year-olds. Are you anxious?
5 loads of 10-year-olds?
Yes, you've gone through 5 generations of 10-year-olds.
Okay.
Makes you sound like 50, but of course you're not.
Not quite. No. But I have it. But it's strange having gone through the 50s, because admittedly the late 50s, but the 50s, 60s, 70s, and now the 80s. And it's just amazing. I must
There
admit,
are grandparents who listen to you.
I think that's rather nice, don't you? The fact that rock and... See, I believe it's rock and roll that's done it. Rock and roll has given a lot of us a fantastic way of communicating. And you can communicate happiness and sadness, and you can make protest. You can do what you like with music, really. It always amazes me that really it's been the rock and roll world that's led in the sort of protesting bit and making statements. I don't think opera makes statements, does it? particularly. I'm not putting opera down.
No, but it makes it in a foreign language quite often. And you don't really understand. Well, I was going to lead on to that in the matter, Jim. Do you ever wish that you could have a couple of 10-year-olds of your own?
I think I could be a good dad. I'm a terrific uncle. So I guess if you follow that through, being a father sometimes appeals to me. But I don't think, I've got the feeling over the years that everyone reckons that unless you're married, you're really not happy. And I'm not quite sure that's true. But, I'd sometimes think, it'd be nice to have.
But does celibacy appeal to you more?
It's not a matter of whether it appeals to me or not. It's just that the lifestyle I chose, or rather the lifestyle that chose me, when I first got into Christianity, I thought I'd chosen it. And then I read something, and it was Jesus. He was speaking to the disciples. He said, "You think you've chosen me, but I chose you." So I feel that I've been drawn into something that's very special, and that really nothing is as good as. So whether it's celibacy, or whether it's giving money away, or whether it's being nice to people, or attempting to alleviate problems in the world, whatever it is, that is my responsibility as a Christian, to be what he would have me be. But the trouble is, of course, that one fails so dismally most of the time that, being celibate doesn't really bother me at all.
Would you have a better grasp of the world if you were a father of children?
I don't think so, no.
Is it?
Not really.
Don't you think it's perhaps a mistake to channel all your energies into one thing?
Well, I don't really channel it into one thing. I mean, you're talking about one thing, and I don't channel my
into a
energies
fundamental view.
Look, tomorrow I will be flying to Haiti with a group of people, and we will be going to an island, which is probably the poorest island in the world, and we'll be dealing with the problems that kids have there. I mean, they don't have any choice. They get up in the mornings, they suffer, they go to bed at night. And, I like the idea of being able to come in and see it for myself and tell people when I come back and show them in this film what the needs are, what in fact their money is doing, because people are already supporting people out there. That's a fantastic thing to do.
If you're that, and you are, that enormously enthusiastic about the message which you're trying to put over, would you not forget all the popular music business and just concentrate on that?
Well, I could do, but I thought this through a lot, particularly when I first became a Christian, and I nearly did give it all up. But the very fact that I have the power of rock and roll behind me gives me a platform. I've spoken to so many ministers, friends of mine who are ministers, and said, what do you think about all this? And every one of them, very few exceptions, have said, if you give up the platform, in a few years, you'll be forgotten as a name and you won't be the draw. We want to try and attract people and make Christianity look attractive. Why should it be that people look at a dowdy old closed-up church and assume that that is Christianity? Christianity is what we make it. And I'm not the only one. Look, I mean, you happen to be talking to me tonight, but there's a lot of very hip people around, younger than me too, who find it very relevant and live their lives by it, and their lives are successful. Not only successful financially or fame-wise, but because they're satisfied people.
Another one of the, obsession's the wrong word, but another one of your interests lately seems to have become tennis. I understand you're going off to Australia on a tour, and you're taking a tennis coach with you.
Well, I'm not. It does sound a bit extravagant, but this is touching on what rock and roll gives you.
You're going to become a mature pro, aren't you?
I'm going to be probably one of the best 70-year-olds when I reach it. I just had the idea, I found tennis, I met Sue and I got involved in the tennis world, and I met a lot of tennis people, and I got enthusiastic because I found I couldn't do it, and it was such a challenge. I try really hard, and I have improved. And I found it so helpful for my career, though. 1 hour's tennis a day. I was breezing through my concerts because we were playing in Australia, for instance, in real hot climate, and I was, really expending a lot of energy, more energy in an hour of tennis than I ever do in any 3-minute section of a song. And I found that it helped me. It made me fitter. I could face the audience bronzed, no makeup. Hey, Paul George, eat your heart out. And I just enjoyed it so much. So I thought this time I'm going back to Australia again. The thing is, though, I had to constantly hope I'd find someone to play with, somebody good, a professional or something, and it wasn't always possible. And so I've invited this guy, whose girlfriend's a tennis player, and she's going to be in Australia anyway, so it's like an extended holiday for him, and he'll play a couple of hours a day with me. And it means that when I do my pro celebrity tournament in December, which I'm going to do again, I'm going to win it this year. I got to the finals, though. My first tournament, I got to the finals.
They let you get to the finals.
They did not. Listen, I only had to beat Hank Marvin and Mike Reed.
Well, then you definitely got to the
definitely
flower
got
with your
it.
own steam. Yes.
Actually, Hank's very good.
He's totally uncoordinated.
No, he's
I've
not.
never seen an athletic-looking
listen.
person.
You just have to put the racket where the guitar was, and it just works. He is actually very, very good.
If you get a guitar that's shaped like a racket or yeah.
But, I mean, Mike Reed was very funny, though. I must admit, he had the most incredible...
That's a change, yeah.
Well, that'd be fair.
Well, the business is chocker now, the popular music business is chocker with geriatrics. There's
Me?
Jagger. I mean, Jagger's very old.
No, he just looks old.
McCartney. Sorry, McCartney. What's going to happen when you're all as old as Parkinson?
Well, don't forget... you know, the thing about the rock and roll world is that those of us who have been doing it and started it are not going to relinquish our hold on it by any means. But you may have noticed that there are a lot of very young folk that come along, like your Duran Durans and like your Nick Kershaws and new names that are coming along all the time. They'll be the ones that, when I'm 60 I can't do it anymore, they'll be doing it. So it'll just keep going. But I don't see why...
But will you want to do it when you're 60? Will you be hanging on with your false teeth and
I
everything?
probably will. I mean, that's what worries me. I think I probably will want to do it. I won't be able to.
Get the old fool off!
Well, they say that now. I think it's going to be a bit like that. I keep thinking, wouldn't it be nice to retire? And then I think, no, because it's funny. Olivia's going through a period now. I'm hoping it's just a period when she says, I don't want to do any more concerts or anything. You know? And here am I, 25 years in the industry. I can't wait for my next tour. And I don't understand it. And I've got a feeling what you're saying is right. I'm going to be the 60-year-old that the old hook's going to go, get it on.
You see, Olivia's really saying, in a sense, what Jane Laporte said, that it's more difficult for women. You're aging beautifully.
Yeah, she's choosing not to
without
do it,
the
I know.
help of the plastic surgery, hardly at all. Good. It is more difficult. Olivia obviously is going to get older and therefore is going to be less acceptable to the almost exclusively male audience.
Well, I mean, if that was the case, fine. But she doesn't look bad at the moment, thank you very much. When she's thinking like that now. I could understand if she'd hit your 40s or whatever it is and was looking a bit drooped. Well, I mean, fair enough. None of us would want to look at someone who's drooped in front of you. Get off quick while you can. But she looked fabulous. Why give it up now? Some people just don't have that excitement all the time, and I think it's necessary. And if she wants to give it up, she should, because it's better to give up right at the top, looking great, singing great records, and let people remember you as you really, glowed.
And they will. And they will.
Wogan will be one of the programs on